I want to tell you guys about a time where God spoke to me, and I was actually majorly depressed. Majorly depressed. Um, I was in a behavioral hospital, or actually, I was getting transferred to a behavioral hospital. I wasn't at the behavioral hospital yet. I was at just a normal hospital, and I was laying on the bed after feeling like completely defeated after my girl left, and I had immense stress, immense anxiety, just all kinds of stuff going on with me. And I remember I was at this point I was cursing God, like cursing him, screw God. I didn't really understand God. I didn't understand the plan. I didn't understand what I was going through. What I was going through. So I'm suicidal. I'm basically being a maniac at this point. I'm losing my mind. They had to strap me to the bed. But I remember laying on the bed, but they strapped me to the bed because I was trying to fight the guards. I refused to comply. So I was ready to fight to go home. I wasn't trying to stay. They recommended that I do stay because obviously I was losing my mind. But when you're the one losing your mind, you don't realize that. You know what I mean? You're thinking you're okay. They can clearly see based off your behavior, you're not okay. So so yeah, I'm strapped to the bed. Or no, I'm not strapped to the bed anymore. Eventually they let me go. I promise I'm gonna behave. So they let me loose, but I'm still defeated. I'm laying there. And I remember I'm in there by myself. Obviously the security guards at the door because they're not gonna let me go anywhere. And I'm laying there and I'm thinking like I'm gonna hurt people. I'm thinking to myself like I'm gonna hurt people. Because at this point I wanted to hurt God and I knew what God loves. I knew what's good. So I was like, I'm gonna hurt people. That's what I'm thinking. But when I've really dwelt on it, like I'm gonna do this, like when I've really thought like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna hurt God. I knew in my heart I couldn't. That's just not me. I can't be that person. No matter how much I might have wanted to, because I was just dwelling in so much hate. It was and so much hurt. It was no way I could do it. So I remember when I thought that, right, my heart just hurt, and then I just started to cry. And then as soon as I started to cry, and my heart was hurting, I heard God speak to me. And God was like this. He said, "If you have nothing to live for me." Right? And at the time, I said okay. I said okay. I said it. I was crying the whole time. I said okay. I was like okay, and I was crying, and I was crying even more because I didn't want to live for God. I didn't even know what that meant. Right? So fast forward, right? I'm just like it's been like 4 or 3 months since the behavioral hospital. Um, I look back on what God meant when He said that, because when He first said that, I didn't know what He meant, because I didn't really know what He wanted me to do. I would constantly ask Him, and I'm like, "What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? I don't know what to do. My life's going crazy. I'm stressed. I don't know what to do. What do you want me to do?" Like I was constantly badgering God like the whole time, even though He knew I knew what to do. He knew. I just needed to believe in myself. So I end up selling everything. That's why my camera is crappy. I actually used to have a good computer, a good camera, a great mic, but I sold literally everything because I was going to walk across the country and just backpack, and which I actually tried to do, but I was out there for an hour and I was like, this is not it, right? So I came back home. Um, so that was the end of that. And so now that everything goes squash, I lost everything, lost my family, lost my stuff. I don't really have stuff anymore like that. I don't have nothing, right? And I realized what God was saying. Basically, when He said, "Live for me," right? Because at that time, God knew I didn't want to live. He knew I felt like I didn't have no reason to live, being the person that I am, right? Granted, some people won't understand that because we're not the same. I'm not like you guys, and you guys aren't like me. So God knew me, though. God knew me. He knew there was nothing I loved more than my family. There was nothing out there that was going to keep me living more than my family, right? There was no car, no money, no house, no woman that was going to keep me alive, keep me going, keep me doing something. So when God said live for me, He meant it. He meant, you know me, speak for me. You know me, you have testimonies, share them. And so He's like, just live for me, be with me, talk to me, uh, communicate with me, be in communion with me. That's what He meant. It wasn't I don't have to go do that. Granted, that would have worked because I would have just really had to rely on God if I did go into the wilderness and I was there walking the streets. But in reality, all I had to do was hone in and trust God, trust Him. That's what obedience looks like, trust. So I finally realized that today. Actually, I realized that God just wanted me to focus on Him because my eyes are open. I know what's important. So I was always going to remain depressed without God because I already lost the thing that made me happy, which was my family. For the people who don't know, I lost my family 5 months ago, right? But since I lost that family, nothing made me happy. And since I couldn't rely on God because I was not trusting him and trusting his plan for me, I stayed in depression because I had nothing else to rely on. Once I stopped and trusted God and relied on God, that's when I overcame the depression. Obviously, there's some other things that helped with that, but now, like when I wake up, first thing on my mind is God. And the first thing I'm doing this right here. I'm recording videos telling you guys what I know, what I believe, what I've experienced. That's what I'm going to be sharing with you guys on this channel the whole entire time. When God says live for me, he means it. Because there's nothing else in this world more important than him. Literally, there's nothing else more. Your TV's not going to save you. Your car is not going to save you. The money you got's not going to save you. Your wife might not save you. Your kids they're not going to save you. All those things are good and they can be good. And the reality is God is almighty. He knows all. He's the most powerful, and he's the one that loves you the most, more than anybody. No one's been there more for me during this time and this depression than God. I feel bad for God, honestly. Having to deal with me during this time because I was just so hard-headed and so stubborn. Granted, it's not easy, but God understands that, and that's why he always remained with me till this day. The adversary was on my back the whole time as well, telling me to kill myself, telling me I have nothing to live for. He was in my ear the whole time, and I knew it was the devil because I couldn't control my thoughts. My thoughts, normally I can remain in control, but I could not control them. It was like I had two minds, and they were constantly at war. But I'm thankful I overcame, and I'm grateful I get to share these messages with you guys, honestly. So I really appreciate you guys listening. God bless and take care. Peace.